Hey, welcome back everyone. I want to talk today about the gas stove narrative. You may have seen all these new reports about people suddenly all at once talking about banning gas stoves. And as you may suspect, there is something deeper to this. It actually ties both to a World Economic Forum plan and to also the Green New Deal. And lo and behold, the people pushing this are the ones mainly behind those same plans. Including AOC, of course, who was one of the main backers of the Green New Deal. Folks, also I want to go into a bit of what's happening with the World Economic Forum conference taking place right now as we speak. And also I want to go into the FAA system outage. If you were trying to travel on Christmas and you weren't able to, because maybe it was Southwest Airlines or something like that, well, I'm going to tell you why things happened the way they did. What actually went down, because it looks like there was an error on the machines, there was an error on the system, and it looks like Pete Buttigieg may have had some involvement with that. We're going to go into these stories and others today, and folks, thank you so much for being here. Those of you curious, I'm actually still on the road, so you can see I'm actually broadcasting from a hotel still. Alright folks, that said, let's jump into the first story for the day. All right, let me pull this up. Hot Air has this. Not just stoves, New York to ban all gas appliances. And you may have seen that the news started with it was basically just a report coming out tying childhood asthma to gas stoves. And they're saying having a gas stove in your home is about as dangerous as leaving a car idling in your living room or something like that. Nonsense. Based on, frankly, many other studies, and we've never heard anything about this before. We've never seen any of this crazy information before, and then suddenly they come out of left field, and everybody, well, all the mainstream media, they're all talking about it at the same time. Suddenly, Governor Kathleen Hochul in New York then comes out and says she wants to ban not only gas stoves, but all gas appliances. And I'll tell you right now, that right there is starting to hit a lot closer to home in terms of what the actual agenda is. And let's talk about that. So it says this on Hot Air. It says, yesterday we looked at the federal government's suggestion that they may either ban all gas stoves in the country or require expensive emission control modifications. This is supposedly being done as a public health measure, but under the covers, it seems like yet another covert attempt to eliminate fossil fuel use in America. And Bloomberg said this: the New York Governor Kathleen Hochul is proposing to make New York the first state in the U.S. to ban natural gas and heating appliances in new buildings. The latest salvo is an ongoing nationwide fight over the fuel. And it says that Hochul called during her State of the State address to ban the use of fossil fuels by 2025 for newly built smaller structures and 2028 for larger ones. New York would also prohibit the sale of any new fossil fuel heating system starting in 2030. And it says, just wrapping this up, it says, we're not just talking about gas stoves in people's kitchens and restaurants. This ban would prohibit gas furnaces, water heaters, water heaters, and emergency generators as well. So if you're in a building that runs entirely on electric heaters and the power goes out during the winter, well, best of luck. It says that Fox Business is reporting that the American Gas Association is, quote, clapping back at these accusations and bringing along the science to back up its claims. They also point to the biased nature of the group that's sponsoring the controversial report. And it says a December 2022 report in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health linking natural gas cooking with asthma is not substantiated by sound science. It's a shaky scientific narrative they're using to advance this whole basically study coming out. And the AGA said in a press release Tuesday that they previously pushed back against some of these comments. They're saying the emissions from cooking with gas are similar to emissions created when cooking with electric stoves. And they're going to be showing the scientific evidence to show their side of the story. So We'll see how much longer these crazy narratives work. What's interesting, folks, is that suddenly all the big influencers, many of the leftist politicians, and most of the mainstream media came out simultaneously at the exact same time, basically looking like this was just accepted reality. They were saying, even like, trying to trump it up, where you had leftist journalists on these, big corporate media saying things like, people are suddenly wondering if they should go in their homes and just rip out their their gas stoves. People are suddenly looking to tear out these gas stoves that are dangerous for their children from their homes. The new science is saying, science is settled. Science is saying that gas is dangerous. Gas is the problem, so on, so on. All of them were suddenly making statements like this. What I found very interesting is that the public was very quick, on a broad scale, not to get involved in the direct narrative of gas stoves, but to instead talk about the hypocrisy, because many of these same officials actually posted on Instagram showing their gas stoves. I'll show you that in a second, including AOC. AOC has a gas stove while she's trying to lecture everybody else about gas stoves. And also, people are calling out the broader narrative, the meta-narrative, and they were quick to find some very interesting connections going back to these major, United Nations organizations, World Economic Forum, and some of the other plans, which we'll get into as well. But again, it's being promoted as a sudden This is the way it's being framed. It's being promoted like there's a sudden outrage among the public. They're the ones saying it, but they're saying the public are the ones saying it. Rather than making it clear that this is basically like a plot of the elite, that this is suddenly the intelligentsia, so to speak, the mainstream media and the leftist politicians basically joining together and marching in lockstep with the same narrative coming out of left field, right? Instead of just saying it for what it is, instead of just acknowledging that it's a stupid narrative they came up with on the spot, it looks like, well, maybe they've been planning it for a while. Instead of that, they're saying that they're blaming it on people. They're blaming it on the average citizen. And they're saying the average citizen is suddenly asking about gas stoves and suddenly wants to know about this. Let me show you how CNN is framing it. This is CNN talking about it, right? They're saying the science is showing us having a gas stove in a small apartment, especially with bad ventilation, is like having a car idling there, right? The science is showing us.